Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's review where I'm looking at my current gamers, the ZX5 Mark II irons from 2023, ran into 2024 and they've just been replaced by the ZXi range, or the ZXi5 to be precise. Now, as always with these irons, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have a closer look at them. We're going to come back here, go through all the technology that's in these clubs, get down to range, go through the figures for the 5 iron, the 7 iron and the 9 iron, because I do have these all the way from 5 to pitching wedge. And then we're going to come back here and go through the ACS Golf Scout, and I'm going to discuss a few things. Number one, discuss if it's the right time to pick these up. Obviously, the fact that the new models come out, and therefore these should be cheaper on the, well, brand new and in the second-hand market. I'm also going to discuss who these clubs are really aimed for, because there is 3 ZX options, and it's been happening for a few years now. So the first ZX, when they came out in 2021, had ZX5, well, ZX4, sorry, ZX5 and ZX7, and then obviously we've had the ZX4 Mark II, ZX5 Mark II, ZX7 Mark II, and now you've got a ZXi4, ZXi5, and a ZXi7, with the idea, obviously, you have the 4, which is ultimate forgiveness, the 5, which is the sort of player's distance iron, and then the 7, which is the player's iron, you have all of that. So we'll discuss at the end of this video who this is for, because if you read some of the reviews out there, some people say it is in one category and others say it's in the other, and I definitely do not agree with some people out there, and I'll explain why at the end of this video. So there you go. So we're going to discuss that as well, and I'm going to discuss why I'm playing these irons, why they're in my bag this year, because to be honest, I've always played Mizunos. If you've watched my channel, watched what's in my bag over the past couple of years, you'll know I'm a Mizuno man. And this year I fancied something different, and that's why I went for these. And I'll also explain why potentially, if you're a mid-handicap golfer and you don't want a hollow constructed iron, this could be perfect for you. All right, so all of that coming up. Now, as always, what we're going to do is we're going to have a closer look at this club. So there you go. It is a smart looking iron. It really, really is. It's beautiful. For me, it's compact enough. It's still got a thick enough top line, so I don't think I'm going to, destroy my hands if I, do a miss hit. It's got the V-Sole technology as well. It's just a really smart looking club. And Srixon have been making some really smart looking things for years. If you've never tried their woods, go out and try them. Please do. Their new stuff is really, really good. But let's get into the technology that's in these clubs. So the Srixon ZX5 Mark II irons are the perfect union of razor-sharp looks, power and playability, combining a premium forged feel, advanced ball speed and distance technology. The evolution of the original ZX5 irons has been 2 years in the making, and it's fair to say that Srixon has absolutely nailed both aesthetics and performance. An upgrade version of their mainframe technology, you can actually see it, they say there. I don't know if you can see the layers there, but mainframe is just there. Mainframe technology has been employed in the construction of these superb irons, and its variable thickness patterns of grooves, channels and cavities that allows for maximum face flexor impact. This second generation mainframe also repositions mass away from the face into the toe and sole for lower CG placement. The idea, lower CG, help get that ball up in the air. Srixon's unique Tour VT sole, as you see there, takes turf interaction to a whole new level of detail with priority combination of sole width, bounce angles and notches. This technology encourages smooth glide through the fairway, rough and sand to strike the ball solidly without losing speed, even if you contact the turf slightly behind the ball. Perfect. What player doesn't do that? I know. Well, actually, hopefully a lot of us don't do that, but there's plenty of times where I definitely hit the turf before the ball, 100%. Anyway, moving on, a slightly wider sole with moderate blade length and offset help the ZX5 Mark II cavity back irons give attuned golfers enhanced distance, forgiveness and workability while displaying a clean look of distress. New for the Mark II, every ZX iron model now features the same top line thickness, so combination sets are even more seamless from address. I did not know that. I generally did not know they had the same top line. That is something new to me, to be honest. And I do have a ZX4. It's in my bag over there, actually, because I've got the ZX4 Mark II. Actually, it's a 4-iron that's currently in my bag. Beautiful thing. I'll do a review of that over the next couple of weeks. So do remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. And to be fair, looking down it probably makes sense, actually. The ZX4 line, well, the Mark II anyway, isn't that big. Well, I never realised that. I think that's a really good bit of technology there. You know, keeps it with the eye. You know, so you're not looking down at it thinking, "Oh my God, no, I'm now hitting a less forgiving iron." That's pretty good. So the ZX5's forged SUP10 faces are strong yet light, increasing face flex at impact for explosive distance, while a forged 1020 carbon steel body absorbs vibrations for a great feel. Then high density tungsten in the sole of the ZX long irons and mid irons. You can see it, it's sort of just there. Just in there. Long irons add stability on off-centered hits, helping to keep speed and spin consistency, and low CG for improved launch. So a lot of CG that they're mentioning. So as they finish off this spiel, as anyone that tried the original ZX5 irons can confirm, they really do perform superbly in every single area. With improvements made on the second generation, there can be no question this is one of the finest players distance irons this year. An emphasis on the player's distance irons there. So mainframe technology, as I mentioned, you've got Gen 2 mainframe, which increases face flex, ball speed while lowering the CG. Tour VT sole improves turf interaction, ensures smooth glide through fairway, rough and sand. Progressive grooves, so 3 to 7 iron feature wider grooves. There you go. And 8 to gap wedge, so AW approach wedge, have deeper, closer set grooves. Obviously, it's the same sort of grooves and same sort of milling technology as Cleveland, because the same company owns Srixon and Cleveland makes some of the best wedges out there, so really, really good there. Plays distance iron shape, so slightly wider sole and moderate blade length and offset, and forged and multi-piece construction, so helps to provide superior distance and forgiveness without sacrificing feel. So this is a multi-piece construction. The ZX4 is just a forged face. I think the ZX7 is the same sort of construction as this. But there's all the technology that's in this club, and there's a lot jam-packed in something very small. Now, it's not huge. I love the shape of this. I really do. It's not a huge iron. I really do enjoy it. Specifications, by the way, if we just talk about the lofts, so 3 iron is 20 degrees, 4 iron is 22 degrees, 5 iron is 24 degrees. Don't know why I went all weird with a 5 iron there, but 5 iron is 24 degrees, 6 iron is 27 degrees, 7 iron is 31 degrees, 8 iron is 35 degrees, 9 iron is 39 degrees, pitching wedge is 44 degrees, and gap wedge is 50 degrees. So not a huge amount of jacking is sort of involved with these. You know, they're not gone crazy with the distances. You know, they're still a lot stronger than your sort of traditional irons. You know, 7 iron, in my mind, more traditional, be sort of 34. I know if you guys out there watching this will probably say, well, hold on, no way is a 7 iron, you know, 34. You know, it should be up to like, you know, 37 perhaps for very traditional irons. But for me, 7 iron should be around 34. If you talk about modern day sort of standard, you know, more sort of traditional lofts. And then 9 iron would be 42, pitching wedge would be 46. So a little bit jacked, but not the end of the world. So there's all the technology that is in these clubs. Now, let's get down to the range, as I mentioned, with the 5 and the 7 and the 9 iron. I'm going to throw some figures at you, and then we'll come back in here for the ACS Golf Scale and my overall thoughts about these very impressive irons. And I'll also compare them to the ZX5s that I reviewed last year. All right, let's get down to the range. Here I'm down at the range with the 9 iron, the 7 iron, and the 5 iron of the Srixon ZX5 Mark II. Starting off with a couple of shots with the 9 iron, then the 7 iron, and then finishing off with a 5 iron. Now, let's get into those figures. So on average for the 9 iron, I had a carry of 132 yards, total distance of 132 yards, ball speed 105 miles per hour, launch angle 26, and a height of 96 feet. Now, I was hitting into a little bit of a headwind when I was testing them, well, getting the figures for them. You know, these clubs actually have been in the bag for a while now and will continue to be in the bag for the rest of this season, to be honest. So not necessarily getting the rollout I'd normally get, and I was probably about 5 yards shorter than what I've been experiencing normally. Normally this 9 iron definitely gets up to that 140 mark, with rollout around sort of normally 2 yards. 7 iron, I had a carry of 156 yards, total distance distance of 157 yards, ball speed 117 miles per hour, launch angle 21 and height 102 feet. Again, because of going up in the air quite high, you know, it was getting stopped by the wind. Normally this 7.9 does get over that 160 mark. With a rollout, normally I'd say about 3-4 yards. Now on to the 5-iron. So this actually penetrated through the wind a little bit more, and to be honest, the wind did always way did sort of seem to cut off a little bit during the testing for this one, but still was a little bit short on the normal. But on average, I had a carry of 180 yards, total distance 187 yards, ball speed 124 miles per hour, launch angle 18 and height 93 feet. So really happy with those 5-iron numbers there. You know, really impressive numbers. So these clubs really do have some welly behind them, and that 5-iron normally on a golf course I would be pushing that 190 mark with it. Overall, here's those figures in the table for you. As mentioned, with the 5-iron, it seemed the wind did drop off a little bit, but normally, you know, I can push that up to 190 as I've mentioned, but relatively that's probably about normal for me. 7-iron definitely 5 yards longer, and 9-iron is similar as well, to be honest. But overall, still really happy with those numbers. You know, this club definitely has some forgiveness in it, and definitely had some good distance as well. You know, really built for an all-rounder golfer, sort of around that mid-handicap range, really. You know, really happy with them. And the plan is for me is to keep them in the bag for the foreseeable future, and just, you know, get used to them and play more and more golf and become better and better. So really quite impressive numbers, you know, definitely for a player's distance iron. You know, I was hitting into that headwind, as I mentioned already, coming into my face. So definitely was losing about 5 yards, maybe a little bit more, especially with the 9-iron and the 7-iron, because they were going a little bit higher in the sky. But, you know, 9-iron on average, 132 yards and 132 yards carry. That's definitely the win there for me, stopping that ball. Normally there is a little bit rollout, because I have had these on the golf course, obviously, for quite a while. And I've tested them quite a bit. It's down the range as well. But yeah, so they definitely do roll out a little bit, but it's only about 1 or 2 yards. The stopping power on the 9-iron is very good, especially pitching wedge as well. Now, 105 ball speed, really happy with that. 7-iron, as I mentioned, so 156 yards carry, 157 yards total distance. You know, 7-iron on the course does roll out a little bit more than that, but again, really nice, more like that player's distance. You know, it doesn't go miles, roll out like your sort of game improvement irons. You know, and I'm definitely sort of aiming for that 160 mark and above with the 7-iron on a good day when I'm swinging well. So happy with that, exactly where I need that club to be. And then the 5-iron into wind, 180 yards carry, 187 yards total distance, ball speed 124 miles per hour, launch angle 18, height 93. That thing was bombing it through the wind. It really was working well. You know, and on the golf course, I can get it even further than that. But I have to be a little bit careful, not because of the heads, because of the shafts. You know, these are KBS Tour Light stiff shafts, a little bit too light for me, to be honest. And it does mean if I really go for it, I tend to really just sort of come under the ball. Well, flex a little bit too much, and the thing goes, boom, way up into the sky. Great for carry, but I do lose total distance normally. So something to think about when you're going for a fitting, getting the right shafts. I do love KBS, but I need something normally about 105 sort of weight, really, grams. Yeah. Neon, I've forgotten the brand that I normally have. But anyway, but still lovely shafts, very responsive, and they do work well for me, but I just have to be a little bit more controlled. If I'm really going for it, just to lean a little bit further down on it to close that club face to keep that ball from rising up too high, which is not the end of the world. The likelihood of me going full gas at it doesn't happen too often, because if you go full power, odds on something can go wrong. So there you go. But yeah, 180 carries, you know, 187 total yards, you know, really happy with that. Very consistent numbers as well. You know, longest was 189, shortest was 185. So really good numbers. Really pleased with that. Okie dokie. So there are the numbers. Now let's get into the ACS golf scale. So we've got distance, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Now for me, distance-wise, yes, those numbers were very impressive for me, but you've got to remember now, if you're watching my earlier videos and go, well, hold on, you did a game improvement iron, you got 180 with it. My swing speed has increased. You know, originally I was swinging the drive around 98 miles per hour last year. I'm up around 105 now. I'm really sort of going for it a little bit more, and it's definitely showing on my irons and other sort of clubs in the bag as well. I'm definitely getting a little bit more distance. So I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. For me, when it comes down to players' distance iron, this is exactly where it should be. and you know, you read a lot of other reviews out there, the distance on these are really, really solid. Are they a P790? No. P790 technique is a player's distance, but it's a hollow construction, and those things are built to be absolute rocket ships. But for me, you're not going to need any more distance. You know, if you're the type of player who's looking for this club, it's going to give you plenty enough distance for it. And a 4 out of 5 proves that. That's very, very good. I only really expect it to be high if it was a game improvement iron. Game improvement irons, then I'd be looking 4.55. Sort of these players' distance irons, the max really I'm looking at is a 4 out of 5, and this is definitely that. If it's 3.5, maybe be like, it's still good, but not the longest. You know, it is definitely up there with the longer in the category. So yeah, 4 out of 5, really, really pleased with that. Feel, 4.5 out of 5. It feels lovely out the middle of the face. You get that forged feeling from it. Even though it's a multi-construction one, you do get that forged feeling and forged response. You know, if I do a bad hit, I know about it. I know exactly where I've hit it on the club face, you know, which is great. I like that sort of, you know, response. I want to know if I do a bad hit. I want to know where I've hit it, you know, so I can go, all right, the whole day today, I was hitting it here. All right, something's gone wrong. I need to go down to range and fix it. So I really like that, and I could definitely feel it. So 4.5 out of 5. Not going to be a 5 out of 5 because it's not a blade, so it's not the most buttery thing out there. You know, you do have some mass in there, some tungsten, but 4.5 out of 5, you know, for a player's distance iron, it feels gorgeous. So there you go. Looks wise, I love the shape of it. I love the looks. So 4.5 out of 5 for me. It's just a really smart looking club. You know, and I quite like the back of this. You know, it's think quite a few things happening here, but it looks really, really cool. I love it. I love the writing. I've loved what they've done there with the mainframe, the Mark II at the top there. You know, it is a good looking club. So 4.5 out of 5 for me. Yeah. I could go 5 out of 5, but 5 out of 5 for me, like a beautiful blade. Bladed iron. Can't beat looking of a blade iron. Definitely improve the performance of a bladed iron, because I do not play blades for the obvious reason, as I cannot hit blades. But, you know, for this, 4.5 out of 5, really gorgeous club. Moving on to forgiveness. So forgiveness, and this is where I potentially have an issue with some other reviews out there. Forgiveness, I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5. For a player's distance iron, it has some really good forgiveness in it. You know, it does on low hits, miss hits. It does have some good forgiveness in there. You know, as you see that 5 iron, consistent shots there. However, it is a player's distance iron. So 3.5 out of 5 for this club is perfect. For a lot of you guys out there, mid handicaps, lowers, this is a perfect iron. You've definitely got plenty of forgiveness in there. If you're just starting the game, you want to be looking at game improvement irons, and you want a Srixon one, go the ZX4 Mark II or the ZXi4 or the ZX4. You know, those are game improvements iron. Then you're going to be having forgiveness 4 and above, which you want. If you're starting a game or you're high handicap, you don't strike your irons that well, you want 4 and above, I would say, in this category. So 3.5 out of 5. Very good for player's distance iron, but it is still a player's distance iron. I've seen a few reviews out going, you know, this is a great game improvement iron. I'm like, it's not a game improvement iron. It isn't. It just isn't a game improvement iron. It's just not built to be a game improvement iron. ZX4 is built for that category. That is the game improvement iron in this sort of categories. This is not a game improvement iron. This is a player's distance iron. Don't be fooled by those sort of reviews where they say it's game improvement, because you'll get this. I think even on Golf Bidder, you know, secondhand store over here in the UK, they're saying it's a beginner. It's not. You'll get this. You'll be punished. Not hugely punished, but you'll be punished and you'll be annoyed by it. Get yourself game improvement irons if you're just starting and you don't strike the ball that well. You know, ZX4, if you want to go down the Srixon route. The ZX4 Mark II, by the way, feels gorgeous, feels lovely, and performs really well. And it's a little bit smaller than the ZX4 original. So there are options out there with plenty of game improvement options out there. But yeah, this isn't a game improvement iron. 3.5 out of 5. It's not a game improvement iron score. Please be aware of that. It annoys me reading it that is out there. And to be honest, on another day, I might not even have given this a 3.5. I might have given it a 3, you know, which is, again, quite normal for players' distance iron. So, yeah, players' distance iron, be better players who strike the ball really well. You can, well, to be fair, you can have a high handicap because you can't putt to save your life. So basically for better ball strikers, perfect. All right, really is good. But it's not a game improvement iron. No, 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 no. Now on to price. So price of these, and this is the thing I will say about Srixon. Srixon holds its value in the second-hand market. It always has done because they are very popular. You know, people think of Srixon, they think of their irons. They don't necessarily think of the woods. Their woods you can find really cheap, especially the new stuff on the second-hand market, which is perfect because they produce some really good woods now. But irons, they do hold their value. You know, if you're looking at golf, well, brand new, I've seen them over here in the UK for around £790 still. It's not a huge amount off from the actual, you know, ZX5. I think it's still about £300. And in the US, I haven't actually managed to find any brand new. So if anyone knows in the US where they're selling them brand new, do let me know in the comments down below in case you guys are watching it and you want to go and get yourself a set in the US or maybe Australia or wherever. But over in Golf Bidder, for example, in the UK with second-hand store, 5 to 9 iron is £460, around $580. That 750 mark, by the way, I think it's around $900 as well. So just a heads up there. 5 to sand wedge, £670. So, you know, you get an extra 2 clubs. So you get pitching wedge and sand wedge, which is $830, $840. So it's still not cheap. Don't get me wrong. It's just been replaced. I wouldn't expect it to be really, really cheap, but there you go. eBay, you can get them for 5 pitching wedge. The lowest I've seen is around £491, around $600, and that's not that bad. Now, price-wise, and this is the thing, because it's quite difficult. Price-wise, I've actually given this a 3.5 out of 5, and there is a reason for it. So even though the price of this is still quite high, you can buy this, and it won't lose that much value. So you can buy it, use it maybe for a year, and then maybe lose £100 because they're that popular. You know, people know how good they are. So that's why I've given it a 3.5 out of 5. And also because, let's be honest, in the player's distance category, these are one of the best irons out there. You know, there's lots of options out there. There was ZX5, you know, paired up with the ZX7, which is the better players one. You know, it's not a bad deal. Yes, it's expensive. Do not get me wrong. Yes, if you want to save some money, look at other players' distance irons. You know, maybe the JPX 921 forged irons. Maybe, you know, any of the, you know, JPX forged irons from over the years. You know, look at the ZX5, P790s, the older ones, or maybe the P770s. The problem with the P790s, the older ones, they did have a hot spot where if you hit out the middle, it did fly out and go absolutely miles. Not the greatest thing. You know, the Ping Eyes, you know, i510, I want to say, can't remember the top of my head, to be honest. But, you know, Titleist T200s, you know, there are loads of other options out there where you can probably go a little bit older and save yourself a little bit of money. I think the T200s in 2019 are a great option. But these are very, very good. You buy these, you're not going to complain about it. So that's why I've given it a 3.5 out of 5. On another day, how I was feeling, it could be a 2.5 or a 3 because it's about where it should be. But, you know, compared to other ones out there, and definitely more modern ones out there, you know, this is a good deal to get if you want to spend a little bit more money and have a really nice club, because they are great. But I will say, if you don't know your specs, spending, you know, £400, £500, £600, $700 on second-hand clubs, maybe not the way to go. Maybe in that case, you know, go get yourself a fitting, find out what your specs would be, then go out and buy them on the second-hand market. It's always a good way of doing it, especially over the UK. You know, pay 50 quid, find out what your shaft should be, and then go and get the irons that are perfect for you. So yeah, so do be aware with that. You know, it's still a lot of money to be spending, but overall I have given it 3.5 out of 5. Okay, so there you go. Just quickly before we finish this video, because it's been a very long video, which is always the way if I really like the clubs, which I do because they are in my bag for this season and I'm enjoying them more and more and more as I hit them. ZX5. So I reviewed the ZX5 last year, so that was the model before this. Distance-wise, they're both 4 out of 4. Feel-wise, I actually give this one 4.5 over the other one. I give that only a 4. Looks, I gave this 4.5. The last year model ZX5 only gave a 4 out of 5. I just think they refined the looks a little bit better in this one. Price, relevant. You know, I would say now, you know, the ZX5 you probably give the price a little bit higher because the price is probably dropped because these are out. Forgiveness, I both gave them a 3.5 out of 5. And that's one thing they are saying, I will point out at the end of this video, which is right now, if you don't want to pay this money, get yourself a ZX5. You know, they're £430, which is around $530 in the second-hand market. So, you know, you're saving yourself maybe £150, you know, maybe sort of $150. And I did see one go for £200. Insane. I don't know how the hell that happened, but yeah, you can get the ZX5 for cheaper. And if you read a lot of reviews of this, and also, you know, think about this right now, you know, distance exactly the same, you know, forgiveness exactly the same. The ZX5 and the ZX5 Mark II, there's really not a lot of difference between them. There can't be, they can't change the wheel. You know, with all the regulations out there, they really can't make a lot of changes, and they haven't. Believe me, a lot of reviews, including myself, say there really isn't that much difference between the ZX5 and the ZX5 Mark II. So potentially save yourself some money and get the ZX5 if you want to go down this route. Personally, for me, I think the ZX5 Mark II just looks a little bit smarter and does feel a little bit better, but that's the only differences that I can find between them. All right, guys, now I hope you enjoyed this lengthy video of my current gamers, the Srixon ZX5 Mark II irons. If you've never tried Srixon irons before, do go out, try them. They're brilliant. If you don't try the woods, try their woods as well. Comment down below if you do play with Srixon. You know, if you do, let me know what you do play with. Yes, I think that made sense roughly. Also, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and do remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you do not miss out on weekly ACS golf reviews like this and so much more. All right, guys. Yes, again, it was a long one, but I'll catch you soon for the next ACS golf review, which will hopefully be a bit of a short video. Never mind. All right, see you then. Bye-bye.